tuned in to Crunch Time Sports, baby. Let's go.
Yo, it's your boy Chop. Y'all make sure you tune in to Crunch Time Sports. It's crunch time.
Tune in to Crunch Time Sports. Go Bucks.
Hey everybody out there, I just want to let y'all know, tune in to Crunch Time Sports.
Hey y'all, what y'all doing? Y'all know what you're doing? Well, you gotta go tune in to Crunch Time Podcast right now. Go tune in.
Y'all be sure y'all tune in to Crunch Time Podcast.
Yo, it's your boy Vaughn representing the best team in the league. Hey, look, make sure y'all tune into Crunch Time Sports, man. Y'all ain't doing nothing anyway. Why not talk about why your team the sorriest team and this the best one? Alright.
Tune in to Crunch Time Sports. Go Packers! Tune in to Crunch Time Sports. How about them Cowboys?
Interesting weekend of sports all around. You probably could have stayed in front of your TV all day with the NFL playoffs and all. But this video is specifically about boxing. So if you don't know, Gary Russell Jr. took on Magsayo. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Magsayo. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Filipino guy. And if you don't know, Gary Russell lost his WBC title. Now, Gary Russell was the longest reigning champion in boxing. A lot of people don't know that. Gary Russell held that title for about 6 years. 6, maybe 7 years, somewhere around there. He was the longest reigning champion in boxing today, right now. A lot of things took place. If you don't know, Gary Russell said that he stated that he had an injury before the fight, right? So when Gary Russell said he had an injury, I kind of like, okay, why would he be saying that before the fight? You know what I'm saying? I thought maybe he was playing mind games with Magsayo, or maybe he was trying to bait him in to a war, maybe to stop him. I was like, I don't know. But turns out he really did have an injury. And if you watch the fight, you could really tell that he really did have an injury. He wasn't just talking. He had an injury. Another thing that happened before the fight is he actually missed weight by, I believe it was a half a pound or so. And then, you know, when fighters miss weight, normally they give them time. I don't know what the exact amount of time is, but they give them time to go back and see if they can lose the weight and come back and get reweighed on the scale. Well, he came back and he ended up losing a pound. So the match was still on. He retained his title at that point. So let's talk about the fight. So the fight started. So I was watching Gary Russell very, very closely to see if I seen anything different in the way he normally fights. If you don't know, Gary Russell is really elusive. Slip punches, good footwork, the whole nine, man. He is a exceptional boxer. Well, the first 3 to 4 rounds, it was very, very competitive. But what changed in the fight, I think around the 4th round, was when Gary Russell stopped throwing the jab. This is when I knew that this fight, he could be in trouble of losing the fight. So he stopped throwing that jab, and Magsayo, he started capitalizing a little bit more. He was more active in the fight. And he ended up pulling out the fight. I had it probably around 7 rounds to 5. He ended up pulling that fight out. Now, this is my thing. I don't think he's better than Gary Russell by no stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's better than Gary. But I will tell you this. Gary fought. He had been out. Gary, let's go back. He had been out the ring for 2 years before he took this fight. Gary has been very, very inactive. Another thing he said, Gary said that the injury that he had to his shoulder, it was an injury that he got after he came out of the Olympics. And a lot of people was telling him to get that injury taken care of. And he said that if he strengthened the muscles around the injury that was in his shoulder, that he would be okay. And he continued to fight. Like I said, he held his championship belt for 6 years. But Gary, in my opinion, and I love Gary Russell. I love it, Gary Russell. But to me, that excuse didn't make any sense, in my opinion, because if you were hurt and you knew you needed to have surgery for 6 whole years and you put it off, and now you lose the fight and you saying now you're going to go back and get the surgery, that's something you should have done a long time ago, in my opinion. You should have never had to lose the fight to go back and have the surgery, because now you lost your belt. And anybody that know anything about boxing, titles is a big thing in boxing, because that's how you do your negotiation when you go in. Is the guy with the most titles and the most fan backing and stuff like that is normally the guy that gets the bigger check. That's just how it is. So yeah, it's real heart-wrenching to see how Gary went out, because I know he's a better fighter than what he fought. And I know Magsayo is not a better fighter than Gary, but I can't take nothing away from him. I thought he should have probably tried to stop Gary, knowing that he couldn't throw a jab. Gary Russell didn't throw a jab, I think, from the 5th round on throughout the fight. Not one jab. Not one. And Magsayo couldn't stop him. And I don't think Magsayo will rematch him. I think he's going to go on throughout his career. I think he knows that, and Magsayo is a Manny Pacquiao fighter. I think he knows that if he was to rematch Jerry, it'll be a wash. It would be a wash. And so sometimes the ball falls in your court. You get lucky, man. And he fought, in my opinion, at that weight class, he fought one of the most dangerous fighters, and he fought him when he had an injury. So props to him. I'm not taking nothing away from him. These are just the facts. If you watch Gary fight, you know how good of a fighter he is, and you know why I'm saying what I'm saying. But yeah, Gary, I didn't like that excuse, man. I just feel like you should have got this surgery a long time ago. I mean, hell, you was off 2 years. And there's other reports coming out saying PBC made Gary take the fight and stuff like that. And as far as that is concerned, I have no clue. I'm not in the backgrounds. I'm just reporting on what was already said or put out in the media. But Gary will bounce back. He will bounce back. But like I said, I think Magsayo is going to take that belt and run and parlay the belt and get paid. And that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Gary will get back in, he'll get back in contention, title contention. I just hope when he comes back and get his shoulder fixed that he's more active. I want to see Gary fight maybe 3 times a year. Heck, 4 times a year. So that's pretty much all I got, man. If you got any, let me know if anything I did right or wrong, or if you got any input on that fight, or who you want to see Magsayo or Gary Russell Jr. fight next. Comment, man. Comment, subscribe, like, and hey, man, that's pretty much all I got. I'm out.